I'm Greg Burrell. My association with Commonwealth Compassion Bridge started back in 2005. And just a little background on it, at the time I was executive director of the River Foundation, which is a charitable foundation for First Southern National Bank. And part of what we did was helping local Christian organizations and community efforts as part of our mission. And George W. Bush had put together a faith-based initiative in Washington. In Kentucky, we got a new governor, Ernie Fletcher, and shortly after that, we had a faith-based initiative that was approved for the state. And we weren't sure exactly what that would mean, but if it was a way to help further what we were already doing and deepen connections and find out new relationships, we wanted to be a part of that. And so as a result, I made an appointment to meet with a guy named Brian Krall, who was, I guess, the director, wasn't he?
Deputy Chief of Staff.
Deputy Chief of Staff to Ernie, but he was the interim guy for that initiative, and went to Frankfurt and met with Brian and kind of laid out what we were all about and what we were looking for, and he told me, you need to meet with a guy called Larry Martin. So, Larry.
I'm Larry Martin, and Greg, as you were saying, the spring of 2005 was a busy time for both of us. I had taken early retirement the previous December in order to work full-time but have more flexibility. And during the early part of 2005, a couple of friends from outside Kentucky had approached me, and they had taken me to meet Brian Krall in the governor's office. And as you said, at that time, Brian was Deputy Chief of Staff and also Director of the Faith-Based Initiative. He later became the Secretary for the Personnel Cabinet of the same administration. But I had met him, and he asked me then to serve on the task force to establish the Faith-Based Initiative Office. And so I served on that task force for several months, which was a very enjoyable process. And then one day, Brian called me and he said, I've just given your name to another guy. He came into my office, and I told him there had been a group here earlier, and they had exactly the same desires, the same type of initiative that you had. And so he's the one who introduced us to each other. And after you and I met, within 2 weeks, we had combined our organizations because we had exactly the same goals. We also combined our name, because we were planning to establish the Kentucky Bridge, and you were establishing the Commonwealth Compassion Initiative. So putting the two names together, we established the Commonwealth Compassion Bridge, and formally established it in May of 2005. And it was just amazing to see what the Lord did in those next few months.
Part of it, I think even from the very first meeting, I don't know what Larry was thinking before the meeting, but I was wondering how this would work and if it would work, and if we're truly competition, or if there's some way we can work together. And after hearing Larry, I thought, man, what a great guy, and he knew so many people that we knew, but also so many connections that we didn't, and how God was moving in miraculous ways in eastern Kentucky, things that we hadn't heard about, but things that we're interested in. Some of the same, the vision was the same, but the expression of that vision was so different in both of and I think we were involved in things that you weren't involved with, and so our combining efforts just seemed to make sense as far as in making it a more encompassing ministry to Kentucky.
Right in the beginning, we adopted 4 goals, 4 objectives for the Commonwealth Compassion Bridge. And those 4 are simple but yet very comprehensive at the same time. And the first goal was that we would identify faith-based and community organizations throughout Kentucky who were compatible with whom we could work. The second was we would help in net weaving those organizations together. Now, net weaving is a term that my mentor coined in the early 1980s. He refused to use the word networking. He said networking sounds as if you're only touching each other. But he said when God brings people together, he weaves their lives into a whole new pattern that did not exist before, and that is net weaving. So that was our second objective, was to help net weave groups together, because so many of them have similar goals as we did, but they don't know each other. And then the third goal or objective was to identify training needed and help provide that training. And since that time, we've done such things as do a one-day seminar on how to transfer the leadership of your ministry from the founders to the next generation, because so many ministries die when the founders are off the scene. And so we've done numerous types of training since that time. And then the fourth objective was to leverage existing resources and to help develop new resources. So again, the four objectives were to identify faith-based and community groups with whom we could work. Second, to help net weave those groups together. Third, identify training needed and help provide that training. And fourth, to leverage existing resources and help develop new resources. And so those have remained our four primary objectives from that time.